What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Healthy Living Scottsdale Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Adam, here with coaches Tara and Damon today, and we are going to be talking about breathing techniques and the importance of proper breathing, how to do it during your workouts and before and after, I guess, all around. So before we get into that, as always, we've got our member of the week, and this week we're going to gas it up and shout out Rita Metcalf. What you guys got on Rita?
I mean, she's just been killing it for the past few weeks, and I would say even for the past 2 months, honestly. She's been really getting after it. The consistency has gone up a ton, and the consistency has been showing with her in-body scans. A little bit more muscle mass now, a little bit lower in fat, and she literally told me this week saying that she doesn't care about her weight anymore and that she's bought in with the muscle mass and the body fat and just only caring about that.
Composition.
I say she's a great person to train. I
Yeah.
love talking with Rita, do the workouts. We talk about the grandkids because her grandkids and my kids are roughly the same age.
Yeah.
So we compare and contrast stories. But in the middle of that, also getting her work in, as Damon said, numbers are doing great. She's having fun.
Yeah, and I think an important one to shout out, especially in this day and age, clean as far as she's not on a GLP-1 or anything. So this is like an organic, she is doing it, quote unquote, the right way. I don't know. She's doing it all natural, for lack of a better term. So just really locked in on the composition, and she's surrounded by the GLP stuff going on around with all of her friends and stuff, but she's locked in her way. So shout out Rita, nice job. All right, so getting into the topic, breathing techniques. So of course, we've all kind of experienced this, breathing super hard in a workout. Maybe you're feeling unstable during a super heavy lift, or maybe just kind of unusually fatigued maybe you've only done a couple sets and it's like early in your workout and you're like, why am I already tired? The issue might not be your actual conditioning or fitness level per se, but maybe the effectiveness of your breathing or how you're breathing. So mainly kind of blanketing what breathing can affect before we get into a little more detailed stuff. Strength output, core stability, your recovery time, controlling your heart rate, obviously your endurance level, and then that all kind of translates and wraps up into your overall performance during a workout. So we take around 20,000 breaths a day. You can assume there's about a breath every few seconds. But people are doing it usually inefficiently during their workouts or during exercise. So
Throughout the day.
Yeah, and throughout the day too. I don't know the number exactly, but it's like an average breath is like maybe 60% of lung capacity. It's like it's something like that. It's like we use maybe half of what our lungs are capable of intaking. So why it matters to breathe well during exercise, main point is that oxygen, the air we breathe, is going to lead to energy production. So kind of the chain of events is breath taken in, oxygenated through the lungs, right? Taking a breath through the lungs, gets oxygenated, and the heart then delivers oxygenated blood to the muscles. The blood is kind of the transport system, and then the muscles are going to use that as energy output, or ATP is the form or the energy source that we use to produce energy. So let's see, poor breathing basically means that you're going to fatigue faster because you're not providing your muscle groups with the energy that they need to perform a given task, right? The endurance is going to be lower or reduced, and just overall less efficient in your workouts, right? So let's get a little bit into, we have a nervous system. Everyone knows that we have a nervous system, but there's a sympathetic and a parasympathetic nervous system, and there's one's kind of like a low stress, more of a recovery mode. One's a high stress. Fight or flight is the common term used to describe the sympathetic nervous system. So this is when you're in like a high stress, or if you can imagine in the middle of a set, right? Your heart rate's elevated, and it's like a hard training mode or a high intensity.
Yeah,
Right.
I got something to add on to that fight or flight mode as well. For some people, you know that nervous feeling that you get sometimes, because we're in strength right now. For people,
Adrenaline.
Yeah.
there you go. She already answered it for me. Clearly, she wanted to take
My
it.
bad.
Hey, you all good. You were so excited to tell everybody. It's all good. But yeah, no. On a serious note, though, a lot of people have that nervous feeling and that adrenaline rush. Those are the moments when you got to use that to be able to go into those strength lifts, because when you're going so heavy, sometimes that nervousness can help bring more blood flow through all throughout your body and be able to use that oxygen at its best and it's at its peak. So
Yeah, good point. High stress isn't
Bad.
a bad thing. It's just how you control it or how you manage it, and being able to breathe effectively is one way to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the flip side, the parasympathetic nervous system is more during the rest and recovery. So either at the end of your set or in between things, if you're supersetting or whatever, heart rate is a little bit lower, but being able to control your breathing there in like a recovery mode will help you prep to then get back into that high stress mode, which is your during set exercise and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and someone want to take away maybe some breathing mistakes or things that we see in the gym kind of commonly that kind of want to bring some attention to and maybe help people realize that we can make adjustments there.
The biggest thing, holding your breath. Yes, there's a
time.
A time
Yeah.
where you do hold the breath for bracing and all those things, but you should not go through an entire set of reps and you have not taken one breath.
You know where you're going to be? You're
the
going to be on the floor, face
Opening
down.
your eyes like, what happened? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you just passed out.
Yep.
But no, seriously. Like, that is like the biggest thing. Like, I thought I had to hold my breath. And it's like, well, yes and no. Like, it's like this much time that you're actually holding your breath through the movement. And we'll get more into like when that happens. But it shouldn't happen over the course of multiple reps.
Right.
it's like swimming across a pool. You don't swim underneath the pool the whole time just to get that lap in. Sometimes those guys have to breathe too,
Yeah.
Very true. Also, not breathing deep enough. Like you said, we're only using a portion of that lung capacity most times. So the two ways I like to think about it is chest breath, belly breaths. If you're breathing through your chest, so you feel your shoulders getting big, getting wide when you're taking that deep breath, that's not deep enough. That's when you're using only that minimal portion of that lung capacity.
Yeah.
I like to put hand on chest, hand on belly. If your hand on your belly is not moving when you're taking a deep breath, that's an inefficient breath. Yes.
We're all doing it, if you guys are wondering.
But that just is not allowing that oxygen flow, that oxygen exchange and production that you need for the muscles. It's just not there because you're not giving your body your lungs time to actually fill up, get the oxygen you need, so then that it can go through its process, like Adam said earlier, through the heart, through the blood, all the way to the muscle.
Yeah, the exchange isn't there's no time for the exchange to happen. It's
like
like
this
really
big.
close.
It's like it's not efficient.
Yeah.
I'd say one that I see very common is breathing out at the wrong point of the lift. It's there was one today that I got a little worried, but they're fine, but it's we had squats today, and usually when you go through a squat, you take the breath in, go on the way down holding it, and then on the way up, that's when you breathe out.
Mm-hmm.
This person breathed in and breathed out all on the way down at the same time. And of course we fixed it and helped him figure it out from there, but those are usually common mistakes, is breathing out too early or taking a breath in at the wrong time, like breathing in on the way down, when reality is that you should be breathing in before the lift even starts, and then breathing out on the way up for a squat, for example, at least, and on bench press on the way up, and so on and so forth.
That's all affecting the stability and the power, and like especially with squats, like today, like when some people really start to push it, it's a scary thing for some people to have a lot of load on their back, right? So you want to feel as stable as you can, and being able to breathe proper timing is super important for that. So breathing techniques, kind of touched on it a little bit, but like the belly breathing, it's feeling it come, like feeling the air fill in your diaphragm and not in your chest. You want to breathe into your stomach and your rib cage and not up into your shoulders. So, your shoulders might move a lot when you take a breath, but it's not efficient because we're just, your chest shallow breathing, basically. The belly breathing is going to get better oxygen intake, better core stability. That point where you're holding that breath, like in a squat, there's a hold. It's at the very bottom, right? Because that's the point in which you need the most stability, and then transfer it and power on the way back up. So another one is again, along the same lines, is bracing, like a bracing breath for a heavy lift. So this is the one that you take before you actually execute a rep. Same idea though. You want to be breathing in through your belly because that's going to provide the most stability. And then it creates this abdominal pressure. It's a Valsalva maneuver is actually the name or the term of it. It's, if you can imagine, you're basically creating like an air bubble, right? And like an air bubble is just sitting there, but it's providing structure, especially with spinal loading exercises, which can be sometimes sketchy, right? So we want all the support we can get. And then rhythmic breathing for cardio. So super important. Obviously, cardio is sometimes quick and high intensity, but also sometimes long duration and endurance. So finding a pattern or a rhythm. So if you take like classic, not sprinting, but jogging or running. I don't know, Tara, you should be talking about this, but like 2 steps in, 2 to 3, while you should be breathing in over the span of a couple of steps, right? And then breathing out through the span of a few steps, right? Breathing out just a little bit longer, but that's going to, having that rhythm is going to provide a consistent oxygen supply. Your body can then adjust to and adapt and understand, like, it's going to get, okay, this is how much energy I'll be able to put out because this is how many breaths I'm going to take a minute and all these things like that. So cycling is another good example of that, like a smooth, even, obviously with cycling, it has a lot to do with terrain change, right? So if you're on an incline, maybe that rhythm looks different than if you're on a decline or something like that, but you're looking for the consistency to a point where it's almost something you don't really have to think about, right? So it's going to improve your endurance, better pacing, and kind of reduce like panic breathing. I think panic breathing is another thing that happens with like heavy lifts, right? Psyching yourself out before a deadlift or a bench because there's a level of risk to them. Obviously, it's like heavy things. So panic breathing can happen if you find that, maybe you have like a little twinge in a muscle and you're like, take a quick breath in, or you feel like you're going to get stuck at a certain point of the lift. If you're able to find rhythm and know when to breathe in, when to breathe out, that just kind of eliminates that panic factor, right? Nasal breathing. So nasal breathing, it's really mostly effective during low intensity exercise because you're just not going to get that much, right? The demand for oxygen is a little bit lower, because your nasal cavity is obviously smaller than your mouth, so you're intaking less air, but it's good practice for control, and it's a good one that you can do. People talk about box breathing and stuff at night to help them fall asleep, so like that's a good time to use like nasal breathing where you can control in a low intensity or like zero intensity environment basically, and just practice that. So some examples, okay, so let's do this. Between sets for breathing, we want to be able to, obviously you go through your high intensity set and then you're done. And then you have a break, hopefully, usually. You should.
Please.
A quick recovery technique is a deep inhale through your nose and a long exhale through your mouth. The whole point of this is to try to slow down your heart rate. So I think number one thing, sometimes, maybe not here, but, you know, if you go to a big gym, sitting down and, you know, sitting down essentially right after exercise, or, you know, you guys have it like in PE class growing up, you'd run like a mile and then everyone goes and like sits down or something like that. And the teacher's like, everyone's yelling at each other, like, don't sit down, it's not good for you. You're going to recover faster if you stay tall, control your breathing, and then you're prepared to, you essentially lower your heart rate, and then you're prepared to go into the next set almost fully recovered, right? Got a couple of myths here that we're going to bust. Great show, Mythbusters, RIP, I think it's done. I don't know. Myth busting. So, Damon, you want to take away one of these maybe?
More breathing equals better.
That's myth. Myth
who
number
came
one.
up with that? But that is nowhere close to be true. It's about how efficient you can be able to breathe throughout the workout or throughout the day. It's about quality, not quantity.
Yeah, I think classic quality over quantity example there. So more breathing, not necessarily better for you.
Panting. You can't catch your breath.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing.
What are you, a dog?
Just like a dog.
Yes, I am. Thank you. Myth number two. Myth number two, you should always inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. Okay, so we kind of just touched on it, but it depends on the intensity of whatever you're doing, right? If the oxygen demand is higher, you're going to need more of it at a probably faster rate or a more efficient rate. So the nose is probably not the best option there. Nose breathing is more for controlled, kind of rhythmic settling, maybe calming, but not calming to then turn around and go and exercise immediately afterwards. It's more so like, let's calm down, and like maybe you're meditating, maybe you're laying in bed reading, maybe something like that. That is when you should be breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth. Right. Myth number three, Tara?
Breathing does not matter if you are strong.
Ha.
You are strong because you are breathing.
Precisely.
But like we said earlier, breathing through a lift, that is important, especially for those backloaded exercises. That is your core stability. If you're not breathing at the proper timing, one, you're not braced, so you essentially you're giving yourself weight without support.
Yeah.
So think
like
of
that.
putting a house on a foundation that is not set. The house is going to sink. Like, it's not prepared for that weight. And that's essentially what you're doing if you're not breathing properly and timing that breath properly. So you must breathe in order to be strong.
You'll be stronger if you're breathing right. So that's like if you're running into a plateau or something, you know, it's like you've been barbell bench pressing for 3 weeks of strength now, and it's like 135, 145, 145, like you just can't get to that next kind of tier. Maybe you need to check in on your breathing and see if that's something that can help you produce a little bit more strength, a little bit more power, because sometimes it's not a strength issue, right? Sometimes it's not a strength issue, sometimes it's a breathing issue.
Mm-hmm. Like you said, the fatigue sets in. Now you're more tired because you're not breathing efficiently. And if you're more tired, you can't lift as heavy.
Yeah, exactly. Do we have anything else to add before I kind of give 3 things to maybe try this week for everybody?
Just make sure to belly breathe.
Essentially, belly breathing is the way to go, bottom line. But 3 things that you guys could try this week and then maybe transfer it into your workouts as well. So the diaphragm belly breathing, practice that, or try to practice for like 5 minutes a day. So yeah, maybe you're not, maybe don't practice during your workout, but maybe over your cup of coffee in the morning before you come in and work out, or if you're trying to wind down at night before bed, a solid 5 minutes of focus on that. It's like anything else, like muscle memory, right? Just the more you can practice,
teach your body how to
teach
do
it. Yeah, experience it. That's the best way it will translate. Almost, obviously you're thinking about it when you're here, but there's a level of subconsciousness to it that, it'll just take over if you've practiced enough, right? It's a skill that you'll be able to tap into, I guess, a better way to say it when you're here. Number 2, focus, and this is more during workouts, but focus on proper bracing during heavy lifts. All right, so those are your big compound movements that require the most strength, the most power, the most energy. That is your squat, your deadlift, your bench, your row, your hinge, something like that, all of those. So try to ask your coach. If you don't know, ask your coach when you should be breathing in, when you should be breathing out, and give it a roll. Third one, control your breathing in between your sets. Don't gasp for air. Try to control. Don't sit. Stay. You're in the middle of a workout, so stay moving and stay active. We want to keep blood flow evenly distributed throughout your body, or distributed to what muscle groups you're using, but try to control your breathing, bring your heart rate down, improve your recovery, and then turn around and go into your next set. Anything else?
Nope.
All right, cool. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up there, guys. Practice your breathing, and we'll see you next week.